More than 20,000 men have played pro football. This 10-part series is a countdown of the top 100, as ranked by a panel of former players, executives, scouts, and historians. Who is the greatest player in NFL history? Find out now as the countdown begins.
Welcome to a wild atmosphere at the Superdome.
I was a guest in the Benson box. So when they saw me come in with my number 12 New York Jets Namath jersey, they were about to kick me out. But I was with Brad Pitt, so they had to look the other way with it. I got plenty of looks. Well, you have to remember I grew up in Brooklyn and I was born in 57. I grew up admiring Muhammad Ali, Walt Frazier, Joe Willie Namath. Joe Willie was just so flamboyant. The long hair, the white shoes. He was New York. He was Broadway. I had a teacher, I think 4th or 5th grade. Her name was Miss Erber. Blonde hair bombshell. She was our teacher. And she was the most popular teacher in the school because she told everybody she went on a date with Joe Namath. Everybody remember reading this Sports Illustrated article where Joe said, I like my Johnny Walker black and my girls blonde. And so we said, yes, that has to be Miss Erber too.
For Joe Namath, it was bombshells off the field, bombs away on it. In 1967, he became the first quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards in a season. Namath had style and substance. Both were perfect for the bright lights of the big city.
Unlike LeBron, some people want to play in New York. Those special people, they crave it. Reggie Jackson, Jeter, Joe Willie Namath. One of the first athletes understood that this is also about entertainment. Come on the sidelines with the fur coat. I don't know about the pantyhose. He must have paid you a ton.
Joe Namath in Beauty Mist pantyhose? Yes, we did it to prove that Beauty Mist can make any legs look like $1 million.
Now, I don't wear pantyhose, but if Beauty Mist can make my legs look good, imagine what they'll do for yours.
Having the smoothest legs in football paled in comparison to having the game's most explosive arm. In 1968, Namath used it to lead the Jets to an AFL championship. But few outside of New York gave them a chance against the NFL's Colts heading into Super Bowl III.
Namath, like Ali, predicted the Jets would win.
You guys been talking for 2 weeks now. I said, I'm tired of hearing it. I said, I got news for you. We're going to win the game. I guarantee it.
Namath, he had some of that swagger. He could have been a brother. And he had the skills to back up what he was saying.
Namath, red hot. Everybody thought he'd get killed in this game. He has killed Baltimore so far.
Namath didn't throw a touchdown pass in Super Bowl III, but his career was about more than just numbers. The way he changed the game went beyond the box score.
You could put a lot of quarterbacks ahead of him just based upon stats. You have stats, but you also have impact. This is the first time the AFL would beat the NFL.
The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts.
There was such a feeling of elation, joy, tickling explosion inside. We did it! We did it! Yes! 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 Oh, it was great.
I'm very fortunate that I've been able to meet and become friends with a lot of these cats I grew up admiring. I've met Joe a couple times, but I really want to take him out to dinner, and just break bread with him. So that would be great if that happens.
There are a lot of battles, and I always used Michael as that, that bar. That's your test. See if you still have it. I try not to remember the play in the playoffs.
Let's go, Danny!
He shut my feet down, gave me the little wiggle, and got my feet stopped, and I was standing straight up, and buried his head in my chest and took me for a ride.
Michael Strahan once again getting into the backfield and causing problems.
I got out of position, and that's what made him great, is he took advantage of things like that. I was out of position. He didn't try to finesse me and rip and lean the corner. He goes, "You're high, I'm going right through you," and ultimately he got there. Felt like I was in the air for like 4 seconds.
He's looking, he is hit, he fumbles the football, it is recovered by the Giants.
So, it was not a good play.
There were plenty of tackles who left the door open a crack, only to have Michael Strahan burst through. In 15 seasons, Strahan pummeled his way to 141.5 sacks, including a record-setting 22.5 in 2001.
The guys that classify themselves as pass rushers tend to be a little bit smaller, a little bit lighter, and want to run around you, but that was not Michael's game at all. He was very good at taking advantage of you getting out of position. And if you didn't get out of position, he wasn't afraid to try to run you over.
Woo, welcome home, baby.
You don't need too many moves. Guys get confused. They think they need 100 moves. You only need 1 or 2. If they work, just stick with them till they block them.
Why did he say? All day long. Good boy can't touch me. You know that. You know what I got a power slipping. What did he say?
The power slip is where you just head straight for that guy. You put your head down and you try to run through him. And once you get him off his feet, you just slip one side or you slip the other. You do that, you can make a 300-pound guy fall on his butt.
I tell you right now, you know everybody gonna watch this ass whoop I put on you, right?
Characterizing him as rather chatty, I think, is an understatement.
Gotta keep bringing it, can't touch it. Runyon. He can't handle the truth. Damn, John, you gonna hold like that all day? Come on, block for once, come on.
Well, he always accuses you of holding.
You love the hands on the shoulder pads right there, don't you? Holding? Come on, you answer that question.
He likes to hear himself talk.
This O-line we're facing today is the greatest O-line of all time. Their quarterback cannot be sacked, can't even be hit. We don't stand a chance. OCU Manure, you're overrated, kid. You can't play. I'm overrated. I'm old.
At age 36, Strahan made his final game his finest moment by doing 2 things he had always done. First, he got to the quarterback.
Takes the snap and back to throw. Sets in the pocket. He's sacked by Michael Strahan.
Then, he opened his mouth when his team needed it most.
17-14 is the final, okay? 17-14, fellas. 1 touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Manning takes the snap, looks left, lobs it left. Burst is wide open. Touchdown, Giants!
We won the Super Bowl.
To be at your best on the biggest stage, the biggest game of your life, it was the perfect ending.
I've been around great players. I've been around Howie Long. I've been around Ted Hendricks. I've been around Reggie White. But of all those players I just mentioned, the best player is Leroy Selmon.
When the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were born in 1976, their uniforms were creamsicle color, but their roster was an empty canvas. To fill in the blanks, General Manager Ron Wolf needed the first draft choice in team history to be a masterpiece.
The biggest thing we're trying to avoid is being embarrassed in the National Football League this season.
You know, we got an interesting decision here. The difficulty was, in order to be successful in the National Football League, you better have a quarterback. But I thought, you get a chance for one of these guys like Leroy Selmon, you better get that guy.
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers select
Leroy Selmon, defensive end, Oklahoma.
As the foundation of the Bucs defense for 9 seasons, Leroy Selmon amassed 78.5 sacks and 6 Pro Bowls.
He was very strong at the point of attack. 2 guys had to block him. He still made plays. He's one of those rare people that just had the gift of understanding what people were trying to do to him and beating them.
Selmon may have been beating his opponents, but the rest of the Bucs were not.
We had really a good defensive unit. Poor son of the guns were on the field like 65% of the time because our offense was so pathetic.
Selmon was the silver lining to the Bucs' 0-14 start. By his 4th year, the clouds over Tampa Bay finally cleared. The Bucs' defense was number 1 in the NFL, and so was Leroy Selmon.
Leroy, you've been named Defensive Player of the Year. How much does that honor mean to you?
It means, I think, a lot of recognition for the whole team. I just can't take things personally like that. I know football is a team sport.
He was genuine. I mean, it was a real deal. I mean, he was as rare a football player as there ever has been in this league. And he caused a team to suddenly become great.
The Buccaneers are the NFC Central Division champions.
The Bucs won 2 games in their first 2 years of existence. 2 years later, Selmon led them to the NFC title game.
Once you get around a player of the caliber of a Leroy Selmon, you can appreciate what greatness really is.
I remember challenging the defense. I said, hey, if you guys are so good, why don't you scoop it up and score? Why don't you intercept the ball and run it back for a touchdown? Let's score on defense.
Touchdown, Derek Brooks! Derek Brooks! Derek Brooks all the way!
Derek Brooks, he didn't just respond. He stuck that back in my face is what he did, and I thank him for that. Everybody knew he was a bit undersized. He found out quickly that size didn't matter. This guy had tremendous instincts, and he will knock your head off. I don't care how big he is. He was just a dominant player.
Knock you out every time. You won't get up next time.
I don't think you can teach all the things that Derek Brooks had.
Good morning, Captain.
Now, he was the most coachable guy that I can ever remember being around.
The good football players get a lot out of this. The great football players love this.
He gets the blood pumping. You get excited to be around guys like this.
Win that division, man. Hey, start fast, man. Come out the locker room. Apply pressure, man. Win on 3. 1, 2, 3. Win.
And a guy that really the Tampa 2 system was built around.
The Tampa 2 requires a linebacker who can fly around the field. None did it better than Derek Brooks.
20.
He had no reluctance in his play. When he saw the ball delivered, he was gone. The Michael Vick game, he got a lot of, I think, recognition because of some of the open field tackles that he made. Nobody tackles those kind of players in the open field in a one-on-one situation other than probably Derek Brooks.
They talked about the great Michael Vick. He's a great talent. How you going to stop Michael Vick? How you going to stop him? Not one word was said about how somebody's going to stop this defense. Remember that.
Brooks and the Bucs were at their best in 2002 when Gruden challenged his defense to score 9 touchdowns. Before the season ended, Brooks scored 5 himself.
Brooks got us started. He took one back at Baltimore, won that football game.
Picked off. Derek Brooks to the 10, to the 15, to the 20, to the 30. Derek Brooks, he could go. He might go. He will go. All the way. Derek, you can walk from there. Touchdown, Tampa Bay. Derek Brooks.
Took one back in Philadelphia in the regular season.
You're so lucky, man. Why can't it be good? Why can't it be in the right place at the right time?
Oh, not all the time.
But his best return was in the Bucs' first trip to the Super Bowl.
Dropping Gannon, looking Gannon, looking Gannon. Those up the middle. Head to the side. At the 40. Derek Brooks 30. Brooks to the 25. 20. Derek Brooks all the way. There it is. The dagger's in. We're going to win the Super Bowl.
When we hugged each other, I can just remember being a vegetable.
Hey, Derek. Something got to declare, man. What's happening for you, man? You're the champion, man. You are the stallion of the world, man. I love you, man. I love you. So proud of you, man. Damn you, brother. Way to go, man.
He's a big reason why you want to be a coach in the NFL, to coach a guy like that.
If you were picking the greatest players in Giants history on sort of a Mount Rushmore, you know you'd have Lawrence Taylor, and you know you'd have Mel Hein. The other 2 spots would be open to debate.
A shrine to the memory of the greats of professional football is dedicated in Canton, Ohio.
The first Hall of Fame elections were in 1963, when the original electors of the Hall of Fame looked back over the first 43 years of NFL history. Mel Hein was one of the guys who was immediately plucked out as a charter member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Coach Steve Owen and his world champion New York Football Giants will help us analyze the game as it is played today. Mel Hein, the greatest center in the league.
Hein was the cornerstone around which the Giants built their franchise in the 30s and early 40s. He played a position that was very demanding according to the formations that were used at the time. In the 30s, the NFL was in love with unbalanced lines, and the guy who kept track of all that stuff was the center. He was one of the first centers to come out and lead a running play, and one of the first who would take a step back, as we would call today, into pass protection.
A 2-time NFL champion, Mel Hein was named NFL MVP in 1938. He remains the only center ever awarded that honor.
He was also a linebacker on defense and a ferocious one, a 230-pounder. He was a 60-minute man, known as old indestructible, even in his own time. As the former Giants coach Steve Owen liked to say, no man played more for the Giants, but needed to be coached less than Mel Hein.
Now, we all had to go both ways, but it was more fun that way. I would have hated to have come out of a ball game and sit on the bench and watch him play. I didn't want to be on the bench. I wanted to be out there and see the action.
Mel Hein is not as well known today as Red Grange was, or as Nagurski, or other great players of that era.
Nagurski has it now, tackled by Hein of the Giants.
But in an era when pro football was all about toughness, Mel Hein stood out as a paragon of that very quality.
The big star of the New York Giants was linebacker Mel Hein. Mel intercepts a Sid Luckman throw and runs like a halfback for a touchdown.
And that's why he goes down as one of the great players in the history of the league.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at numbers 100 to 96. Number 100, the quarterback of the AFL's all-time team, Joe Namath. Number 99, Michael Strahan.
Woo, welcome home, baby.
Number 98, the first Buccaneer elected to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Leroy Selmon. Number 97, the 2002 Defensive Player of the Year, Derek Brooks. Number 96, Mel Hein. Now, number 95 on the top 100 greatest players.
Say hi to my mom and dad, wife.
Nice guy. But when he came on that field, Larry said he had a job to do. And his job was to go through you. Larry bench press 692 pounds.
The strongest man.
I still remember that. 692 pounds. When a man can bench press 692 pounds, that man can launch you. It's like going against a bear, man. I mean, he's just humongous. Man, he'll grab you, pick you up, and start laughing. And there's nothing you can do. It's like going against a car. You're trying to stop him, you're just sliding. I've seen him take linebackers, just drop him 20 yards. Not 5, not 10, 20 yards. And you go back in the huddle, that linebacker looking at you going, what am I supposed to do? Do the best you can. Do the best you can.
Everybody want to test themselves against Larry Allen. Come on. Bad man. Bad man. He's accountable.
In 1994, after 9 offensive linemen had already been drafted, the Cowboys selected guard Larry Allen from Sonoma State. He would never be overlooked again. Allen protected Hall of Famer Troy Aikman and led the way for the NFL's all-time leading rusher, Emmitt Smith.
Oh, look at that hole! Touchdown, Cowboys!
You got a guy like Larry Allen in front of you, he was like a wall. I mean, like a stump. You couldn't move it. He was very patient, and he never made a lot of mistakes. You weren't going to have guys just run up in there going, yeah, I'm going to bull rush Larry Allen. You never hear anybody say that. Did you bull rush him? Oh, that never came in my mind, bull rushing Larry. No, he didn't bull rush Larry.
No one teased the opposition better than John Randall did.
Hey, Charlie! Ray Brown! J.J. Stokes! You cousin to J.J. Walker?
But when he faced Larry Allen, Randall quickly learned to keep his chin strap tight and his mouth shut.
You didn't taunt him. You were nice to Larry. Give him a hand up, smile at him. Sometimes he smiled back, sometimes he doesn't, but don't get him mad.
In the pit, only the strong survive. For 14 seasons, Larry Allen was a raging bull in those trenches, a force to be feared.
Nice job, L.A. What a battle, big man. Way to go.
Larry, man, he is one of the most powerful men that ever played the game. Being able to take the pounding and come back and play. It's about pride. It's you versus him, and it's in the trenches. Larry's one of the great ones.
Every time Lenny Moore was given the ball, it was the beginning of a unique adventure, a classic in cleats.
I fell in love with the spats. Lenny was the first player that I saw, his ankles taped outside the shoes. He was the start of that. Me and some of the guys who would see him would be just woo, woo. It made him look beautiful. Boy, after a while, everybody had their ankles taped outside because they thought it looked good.
But style took a backseat to substance for the Baltimore Colts' Lenny Moore.
Lenny Moore gets the ball, and Lightning Len lights out like a frightened fox in a forest fire. The Reading Rocket roars non-stop to a 41-yard touchdown, and Baltimore is on top 7-0.
I'm a speed guy, so I respect speed, and Lenny always had that burst away from people. Whether he was catching the ball or running it out of the backfield.
Lenny Moore's versatility allowed him to line up at halfback or flanker, blazing a trail for the likes of Bobby Mitchell, Roger Craig, and Marshall Faulk. In Moore's career, he scored 26 touchdowns of over 50 yards, the most by any running back in NFL history. But in 1963, his career was threatened by a knee injury.
You get an injury, it's all over. And they would begin to say things about Lenny, about this might be it, and that type of thing.
I dedicated myself in 1964. I said, well, if they think I'm through, I'm going to show them. And I'm going to have the best year I've ever had, because it's going to start from day one. My attitude changed, and my dedication was toward proving that I was still there, that I could still do the job.
Moore scored 20 touchdowns in 1964, completing a streak of 18 straight games with a touchdown.
I was so happy to see him say, hey, it's not over. And Lenny did that. And just went on and completed a great career.
Yeah, I know it's a long time ago and everything else, and I hate to hear old veterans say when I played. But I played everything, you know, and I played 11 and a half years. I never got hurt. Why? Because I was going full speed all the time.
We became very close and have remained very close. Always told him, I said, you were like the brother that I never had.
Baum on a spectacular catch, and a 10-0 defensive epic puts the Giants in the title game with the Colts. Fans go wild.
Every play was full bore with him. Every play he went full out.
Sam Huff was a coal miner's son from West Virginia. He was drafted by New York in 1956 as a defensive lineman. But when assistant coach Tom Landry installed the revolutionary 4-3 defense, he made Huff its anchor at middle linebacker.
As long as I played football, I always played from what you call a three-point stance. You're always down, and you always saw one person. And all of a sudden, Tom Landry says, why don't you try middle linebacker? And I'm standing up. Now I can see everything. It was such a beautiful thing for me. It was like I was born to play it.
Quarterbacks find Red Doggin Sam Huff the toughest in the league. Huff knifes through and forces Lou Carpenter to fumble.
And here comes the ball carrier, all by himself. And he's got to try to beat you. Good luck.
He wiggles past Janelle, but Huff spins him down on the Giants' 6-yard line.
In the spotlight of the world's media capital, the New York Defenders became heroes, and Huff was their leading man in the new glamorous era of defensive football. He was a sought-after spokesman for advertisers. He was featured on the cover of Time magazine. And he was even the star in a gritty CBS documentary.
I had great admiration for him when he was with the New York Giants, and it grew when he became a Redskin, and I knew why, that Sam Huff would, end up eventually in the Hall of Fame. He had a unique style of tackling. He aimed for the back shoulder. He never had a guy cut back on him. He didn't give him that angle. Only gave him one way to go. Very smart, intelligence. He knew his position and everybody else is on defense. Believe me, he deserves to be in the top 100.
Michael has lived his life in one speed. He was 100 miles an hour off the field, and he was 100 miles an hour on the field. He's one of those guys that you love him when he's on your team and you hate him when he was playing for somebody else.
Showtime!
For 12 seasons, Michael Irvin was a showstopper in Dallas. Before Terrell Owens and Chad Ochocinco, there was Irvin, the original receiver turned entertainer.
And who do you think it is? Michael Irvin!
As flamboyant as Michael was, I think there are a lot of people who probably misunderstood that for selfishness. And did Michael want to do good for himself? Yeah, absolutely. But Michael, more importantly, wanted to do good for the team.
They starting to say we can't run the damn football.
Michael could get in front of the entire group.
We'll run on Monday. Let's go. Damn day. All day.
And everybody knew that it wasn't self-serving. It was because this guy really wanted to win. Michael Irvin was arguably the hardest working guy that I've ever been around as an athlete. We'd have a running test in the summer, 16 110s, and he may go out before that running test and run 30 110s just to prove that 16 was going to be easy. He was a guy who wanted to be great. Michael was not the fastest guy in a race, so he had to be great in other areas.
Michael, 45-40, 30 to the 20. A man to beat. Woodson will get him at the 10. Irvin breaks free.
He was a big physical guy, and he used that. It's like a great rebounder in basketball. Charles Barkley, for a guy who was no taller than he was, yet a great rebounder. Michael was that way as a receiver.
Oh, What a play for the playmaker.
He had vanity plates on his BMW that said Playmaker. He wouldn't just sign Michael Irvin, 88. I mean, it was Michael Playmaker Irvin, 88. And so you didn't want to get behind him in an autograph line. I mean, you're going to be a while.
What I do? Make plays. Nothing but make plays, baby.
And, you know, if you call yourself that long enough, then others are going to catch on. And, of course, then you got to make plays. And he certainly did.
Irvin holds the NFL record for most 100-yard receiving games in one season with 11. Each week, he did whatever it took to make the catch.
There's a lot of guys that don't really want to take the big hit. Michael would he would get hit by a truck.
Everybody would always come to me talk about Michael, man. You fearless. You're fearless. Boy, you have so much courage. You fearless. That's the truth of the matter is, every 3rd down and 7, I would say, Michael, you run that slant or you go back to the ghetto.
Just get me to run. I'll take care of it. Let's throw the slants. Let's throw the slants. We'll throw them into any coverage. Let's throw them. I'll go get it. I'll go get it.
Only Jerry Rice has more career postseason catches than Irvin. He may have been a showman, but Michael Irvin's most memorable act was helping the Cowboys win 3 Super Bowls in 4 years.
Never have come close to doing what we did in the 90s had it not have been for Michael Irvin. On that list of 100, I would argue not only does he deserve to be on it, but he deserves to be a lot higher than where he is.
Does he deserve to be in front of you?
Let's not go too far.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at numbers 100 to 92. Number 100, Joe Namath.
The long hair, the white shoes. He was New York. He was Broadway.
Number 99, the 2001 NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Michael Strahan. Number 98, Leroy Selman.
2 guys had to block him, and he still made plays.
Number 97, Derek Brooks.
He will knock your head off. I don't care how big he is.
Number 96, the only center ever to be named NFL MVP, Mel Hein. Number 95, one of the strongest men in NFL history, Larry Allen. Number 94, Lenny Moore. Number 93, a linebacker who appeared on the cover of Time magazine, Sam Huff. Number 92, Michael Irvin. And now, number 91.
My dad started out as a general reporter with the Minneapolis Star, and he got to cover the Vikings for many, many years. I would get to go, even at age 8, I was going to the games with my dad, and even younger. Fran Tarkenton. It was probably the first name I ever learned in football. Fran Tarkenton was really the first model of the mobile quarterback. He would just go all around, run all around, and play in a different way. I always thought of him as the scrambler, the guy that was always running back and forth on the field, and we'd watch him. He's going there, he's going there, he's going down the middle. He also was a very smart guy, and someone that was just in a little different mold than the other quarterbacks. It just made him different, and I think much more exciting. Remember a funny story about one of the Viking players, Grady Alderman? One of the opposing players was down on the field, and he tried to tackle Tarkenton 3 times in one play. And so he finally was giving up. He's laying down, wheezing on the field, and Alderman looks at him and says, "What are you doing?" He's still out running. And the guy says, "Well, I'm just waiting. He'll come back here at one point."
As quarterback of the expansion Minnesota Vikings, Fran Tarkenton's escape act was born out of self-preservation. Tarkenton's improvisational style thrilled the fans, but irritated Minnesota's old-school head coach, Norm Van Brocklin.
Van Brocklin didn't like when Tarkenton would sometimes go off on his own when it was third down. And in fact, my dad remembers Van Brocklin telling Tarkenton, 3rd and 8 is no time to get creative.
The Vikings eventually traded Tarkenton to the cellar-dwelling Giants. For the next 5 years, Fran's frantic style helped New York regain respectability. In 1972, Tarkenton was traded back to Minnesota, where he finished his career having thrown more passes for more yards and more touchdowns than any quarterback in league history. Despite his record numbers, one accomplishment continually eluded the elusive Tarkenton.
We played in the big game and we lost all 3 times that I quarterbacked. I have never gotten over that. I never have a day go by that I don't regret not being able to do something more to help my team win a Super Bowl. We don't look at quarterbacks as being worth very much if they're not on a Super Bowl winning team. But we went to 3 Super Bowls in 7 years and won 6 division championships, and I was proud to be a part of that.
I think greatness is more than just being great yourself. It's being able to make other people great and making a team great. And that was something that Fran Tarkenton did. We have to remember those players that played for a good team but just didn't happen to win the Super Bowl. When he left the league, he was the all-time record holder of every passing record there was. So that alone puts him in the top 100. So I always remember that number 10 with that purple jersey, trying so hard, running back and forth across that field, doing everything just to win that game. And it will be a memory that I will take forever.
Next time on Top 100.
He's very, very bright. I mean, very bright. And I think there's a side of him that he really thinks he knows how to do it better than his coach does.
America's supposed to be about stories like that, and so when they happen, your hope gets renewed.
Some guys walk into a room and you go, who's that? And other guys walk into the room and you go, whoa. He could do whatever he wanted to do, and dominate games is what he did.
The countdown continues with numbers 90 to 81. Next time on the Top 100.